Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to my caster build playthrough of Dark Souls Remastered. This is episode number 11, being recorded on Saturday the 14th of July. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, whenever it is you find yourself watching this. Following the previous episode, I did a number of things off camera. The first is that, seeing as Sweet D is, after all, Daughter of Chaos, I joined the Chaos Servant Covenant. I still haven't got the dialogue, which we'll be able to get a little bit later when we go to Lost Izalith. But I farmed the humanity sprites in the Abyss an absurd amount, such that, as you can see, we not only have 17 soft humanity in the top left, we also have 24 single humanity, and we did have some twin humanities, but I used them all. And in addition to all that, I also got us to level 2 in the Chaos Servant Covenant. Which, in order to do that, you need to offer to Sweet D's sister, the Fair Lady, you need to offer 30 humanity. And the reason we did that was so that we could get our hands on, not, aside from the lore reason for that, which is that D is trying to make up for the fact that she left after Quaylana left, and trying to help out her family a little bit. But we also got our hands on Chaos Storm and Great Chaos Fireball. At least in Remastered, you don't have to turn them in one at a time. Indeed, that was not fun to do in the original game. The next thing we did is that I went and I killed all of the Prowling Demons in Sen's Fortress, so that we could get our weapon to +5, Quelaag's Fury Sword. So we're all good in terms of upgrades there. We also upgraded our Balder Shield to +10, and we're going to need to go and get the Very Large Ember from New Londo Ruins in order to get it up to +15, but our weapon now is doing a fair amount of damage, 470, which actually surprised me quite a bit. It's split damage, so that's not all physical damage, but that's pretty darn good. How much of that is physical? So physical is only 162, but we're doing a decent amount of fire damage. So, I felt like there was a ring missing, because we are going to ditch the Ring of Favor and Protection eventually. But until that time, I was like, why am I using... Well, I was using mostly the Ring of Steel Protection. But yeah, we have the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring. A special ring granted to only the most accomplished sorcerers at Vinheim Dragon School. The ring is engraved with an everlasting dragon and boosts the strength of sorceries. What it doesn't tell you is that it also boosts the strength of pyromancies. Carbon monoxide is saying Quelaag's sword scales with humanity. Oh, okay, so that makes sense. Because we have 17 humanity. Presumably it caps at 10. Because that's the way it's supposed to work. But, so we got that from Griggs of Vinheim. One thing that we didn't do in the previous episode is read the item description for Manus' soul. Soul of Manus, father of the Abyss. This extraordinary soul is a viscous, lukewarm lump of gentle humanity. Ancient Manus was clearly once human, but he became the father of the Abyss after his humanity went wild, eternally seeking his precious broken pendant. So as you can see, they're right next to one another, that it's literally just a humanity sprite, but with tendrils of black stuff around it. AKA humanity run wild. Alright, so I think that's it. The first thing we need to do is go to say hello to Kalameet. So we have, I think it's just a soul item over here. And these very curious doggos here. And I'd be curious in hearing people's thoughts on this. So these aren't supposed to be the monsters that roll at you in Darkroot Forest, right? Those are supposed to be cats, I think. Because you see, it's almost like they have scales. It looks almost like how grayscale is depicted in Game of Thrones. Looks less like scales and more like crumbling crust. Yeah, it seems like more of a disease-caused scaling, not something by nature. So something that I've never actually thought about are these logs here as well. So are these the same logs that Gough has in his little tower there? So we talked about that in an earlier episode, and something that Cass had mentioned in the chat, I don't think I read it out in the episode, is that you can't just make carvings from any old tree.
Hello.
These are arch tree carvings. Head carved of arch trees by Gough in his imprisonment. Gough imparts an emotion to each and every completed carving, which helps him achieve personal enlightenment. When a head is disturbed, it speaks, reflecting the emotion conferred to it. This head says, "Hello." Have another look. Do you sense the amicability in its eyes? So, I'm going to assume these are not arch trees. But they have like abyssal goo on them. Finally caught you streaming. So good to see you and to be able to contribute live to chat. Oh no. Hope you're having a great day, Aegon, and everyone in chat. Hi from New Zealand. Well, hello, Mushroomkin. I hope you're doing well, friend. I'm very glad that you were able to join us as well. So yeah, like there's obviously some sort of logging operations going on here. But the arch trees are such that, you know, they're the things that hold up worlds. They're enormous. Much, much larger than these. Unless when the arch trees are deforested, which would actually make sense. Because if the gods are, you know, against dragons, which they obviously are, then you would think that the deforestation of arch trees would be one of their priorities. So I don't know. Well, again, like with the gardener friends, that one fell through the floor. With the gardener friends that we explored in an earlier episode, they were very keen, very intent on taking care of the garden and not cutting down the trees. Okay, so I think it was Hunter M who said in the chat, sometimes a log is just a log. But I think we have our answer as to what these specific logs are doing here. Is that maybe they were trying to cordon off this area. And for whatever reason, they didn't finish, leaving a rather conveniently door-shaped opening where the fog gate goes when you can actually fight Kalameet. I think maybe those forest guardians with the axes are lumberjacks. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it could be. Oh, I actually forgot about that. Presumably, they talk. Oh, look at the little Chris lizard doing a roll there. No, that's not what I wanted to do. What a waste. Presumably they talk because arch trees. They're carved from magical wood. Where's Kalameet? Hello? There you are. Oh, no. Oh, that was really pathetic. Oh, well, either way, we had to warp back, so we'll just have to make sure we don't lose our souls. Fun fact, if you use the 4-pronged plow, your character also falls down flat when missing the R2 attack. Okay, so we're definitely going to have to go back to the Royal Wood and explore it a little bit more. And then in the next episode, we'll head towards the Tomb of the Giants. No! I didn't know you could actually close that. If you carve a face into an arch tree, it doesn't make it sound.
Hello! I require some assistance. Taking out the Black Dragon.
Tomorrow, is the Black Dragon posing the duress? Yes, I thought as much. He's called Kalameet. Ferocious dragon indeed, even mighty Anna Londa dared not provoke his ire. I see little good coming from this, but thy intent is to persevere to the bitter end. Good, good. What is bravery without a dash of recklessness? I've taken a liking to thee, and I owe thee much for thy service to Artorias. Now, watch, and see how Gough hunts dragons. Yes. A truer shot was never loosed. That bat will be grounded for a good spell. The rest is in thine hands. I await good tidings. Dragon slaying. Knighthood's highest calling.
That's an excellent question, Mamatim. Presumably, he has some sort of heightened, heightened ability to hear. Because when he was lining up his shot, it looked like he was listening for the sound of it flapping its wings or something. Presumably, or potentially, that could be why he has those, like if you look at his helmet, you see on the left and the right, maybe he does just have really big ears, but that also begs the question of, if the resin in his helmet prevents him from seeing, why doesn't the resin in his helmet block his ears? Yeah, he has Daredevil sense, maybe. And it is also an open question as to whether or not he's even blind. Like, I've heard it suggested that he's not actually blind, that it's just the resin in his helmet that prevents him from being able to see. But he's someone who is so eloquent and intelligent, and he's very introspective. And yet, you know, the suggestion is that he can actually see, but he's just too dumb to realize that he has resin in his helmet. So, I don't know. I like... He's just like... The way he crosses his legs, too. It's incredible. I'm going to assume those are shavings that he's sitting on. It really is too bad that we can't get his armor set. Because it is very, very fancy.
Hello there. What of Kalameet? He is an ancient dragon. Skyward or no, he will not be put down easily.
Touche, Megalomandel. Is that something that he mentions at one point? I can't seem to recall.
Dragons shall never be forgotten. We knights fought valiantly, but for every one of them, we lost 70 of our own. Exhilaration, pride, hatred, rage. The dragons teased out our dearest emotions. Thou will understand one day. At our twilight, the old thoughts return in great waves of nostalgia.
Interesting. So in other words, he's become comfortable with his chains, much like the giant blacksmith. Oh, oh. Okay, well that's why I've never used this set. Because... who is monstrous enough to kill this guy? Well, you enjoy your armor set, friend. It's looking good. As are you. Although, again, as Megalomandel and Hunter M have noted...
Farewell, human. I await good tidings.
As has been noted in the chat, he seems okay with the fact that the regime of Gwyn and of the gods, the Age of Light, is built in part, much like Vendrick's regime, is built in part on the backs of enslaved giants. So that's a thing. But yeah, he's complicit in his people's enslavement in part because he's so civil a tool of his empire. Well said. Well, I don't know, he seems just content with everything. Whatever's actually going on. Like, he seems like a very loyal knight. Okay, I have no idea how this is gonna go. Let's make sure we see our souls. Okay, our souls are there. Here goes nothing. Hold on, Kalameet. Please let me get my souls first, if you don't mind. Thank you. Oh, that was bad. Rip. Where the heck are our souls? Oh, of course, they're even further in now. Alright, we'll use Power Within first this time. And we use Black Flame because it does a little bit more physical damage to start at least. Oh. Yeah, that's not a heck of a lot of damage. Okay, we're doing more actually with just plain combustion than we were with Black Flame. No! Oh, wasted opportunity. Gosh darn it. Oh, tail smash! Oh my god! I don't know how we rolled through that. No. Gee. No! Those panic swings, though. Whew. Thank you, everyone. Hello, candidate. Soul of a Hero, Soul of Brave Warrior, and Soul of Brave Warrior. A dragon high above the sky, out of sight of the naked eye. Why aren't you poetic? Developer message. Dragon Slayer D, yup. Another developer message here. If only Hawkeye were here. So someone asked about whether his great arrows were carved of arch trees. Great arrow used by Hawkeye Gough, one of Lord Gwyn's 4 knights, for dragon slaying, requires great bow. Gough personally crafts each stone tip and wraps the shaft tightly with tree bark. So it doesn't specify whether it is in fact carved from an arch tree. This is a beautiful, beautiful place. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, but isn't this where we enter the DLC? Like the Hydra is somewhere over here or something like that? Because I'm pretty sure that's the ladder that we climb in order to avoid having to buy the Crest of Artorias. which would make the Hydra somewhere around here. It's definitely more flooded in the present day if this is indeed the same spot. If the Legend of Zelda has taught me anything, it's to always look behind waterfalls. So we have a Titanite slab here. I remember trying to get that before Kalameet killed me, because I really needed the Titanite slab and didn't want to bother having to fight the boss. What the heck even is this? Did they forget to... Oh! What? It's like a mountain sprung up around a structure. You can, from here, see the walls of Anor Londo. Can't make out whether the Duke's Archives is there or not. I would presume that it was already built by this time. Hello, friend. I brought good tidings.
Why, thou hast defeated Kalameet? Wondrously played. Lord Gwyn's blessing upon thee. That beast will never take to the skies again. This great bow, I shan't need it, but no dragons to hunt. I know not if a human could even operate it. But here, thy need outweighs mine.
Well, thank you.
I suspect thou hast taken a gander at it, but the dark of the abyss, which swallowed poor Artorias, threatens to devour our entire land of Oolacile. It seems that this dire fate is unavoidable, but, seduced by a dark serpent or no, they awoke that thing themselves and drove it mad. One's demise is always one's own making.
Chester earlier told us that the people of Oolacile were seduced by a toothy serpent. And Hawkeye Gough has just corroborated that story. Although he suggests that whether or not they were seduced or tricked, it's still their fault. Which again would go back to what was being discussed in the chat earlier about the giants and them being enslaved. Presumably, he has a sort of hyper, which is really curious, that he seems to have a very hyper-individualistic perspective on things. Sort of like in the real world, how people who are born poor, it's their fault. Conveniently, people who inherit money and are born to rich parents, they did it all themselves. Never mind that they inherited all that money. They did it all themselves.
Do not mistake my words. I cherish my work. Wood carving is a nuanced art. I would have much to talk about with that blacksmith. In truth, how is the old chap, I wonder? Still hammering away, I should hope.
Aww. Oh, now I feel bad for talking smack about him just now.
Farewell, proud human. May every honor be bestowed upon thee.
This is a good point, Vodka Foley, and presumably Kath's motivation for doing so, for encouraging them to dig up Manus, is that, Kath wants the Abyss to be a thing. He wants to rule over the dark, so he knew it was going to happen, and he encouraged them to do that because of this. So, it could just be like a world design thing in that when a giant enemy has a giant weapon, when we get it, it's just a normal size weapon. But clearly his bow is still here, even though he just gave it to us. Gough's Great Bow. Great bow used by Hawkeye Gough of Lord Gwyn's Four Knights for dragon slaying. This bow is larger than even those used by the famed dragon slayers. Only their leader, Go, had the strength to handle it. And it requires 27 strength and 20 dexterity. So, in other words, we're never using this bow. I realized while I was trying to map out the remaining episodes that we've yet to actually do the Undead Burg. So it'll be fun, I think, to go back and do that a little bit later, because then we can just stomp everything in the area. Hi, Crystal friends. So the presence of the crystal golems here in the base game, because these things were here even before the DLC, would seem to be an indicator of the wide reach of Seat the Scaleless. Because that's something I never really thought about. Like, why are the crystal golems here? We have the Channeler in the Undead Parish, but these are infinite spawns, these things here, the crystal golems, so it suggests that Seath, yeah, he has a substantial... Oh, we have to be human to summon her, don't we? Hi, friend.
I am Dusk of Oolacile. It is an honor to see thee again. I shall follow thine wishes.
So is it just a formality thing? The fact that she introduces herself every single time we summon her? Because she says, I'm Dusk of Oolacile, which implies that she's introducing herself, but then she says, it's an honor to see thee again.
Excuse me for such whimsical utterances. Only, it was so very odd. You and Artorias. I owe my life to each of you, and both seem to share some resonance of sorts. Perhaps it is the nature of true greatness.
So I'm very glad that Candidate noted for me that we hadn't got all the dialogue here. And that's not all the dialogue just yet. But this additional dialogue does throw a wrench in my understanding of Dusk and Artorias and the whole thing concerning the DLC. But let's see if she has anything else to say, or whether we need to rezone one more time to get the rest of it.
Excuse me for only you perhaps.
So we have to rezone one more time.
If thou art in need, pray summon me again. I wish to be of assistance. May the flames guide thee.
And likewise to you, friend. So she says that Sweet D and Artorias seemingly share an essence. And presumably the reason why we need to rezone in order to get new dialogue each time is that over time she's thinking about it more and more. She's processing it in her head. Initially she said that it was Artorias. She was convinced of it because presumably that's what Elizabeth told her. But now she's saying, excuse me for, a whimsical thought. So that is to say, a thought that is sort of out there. That it's a fanciful musing. That Sweet D and Artorias, we have a similar aura to us. So that's, initially she's convinced that it was Artorias, or at least she communicates it as such. And then second she says, you remind me of Artorias. And now when we summon her a third time,
I am Dusk of Oolacile. It is an honor to see thee again. I shall follow thy wishes.
So Hunter M noted when we summoned her last time that, yeah, it's probably just a royalty thing, the fact that she introduces herself every single time you summon her. So let's see where she is now. We don't know how much time has passed in between these summonings, but presumably a decent amount of time such that she's been able to think about everything a little bit more. So now she says,
I still think on that creature from the abyss that preyed upon me. My faculties were far from lucid, but I quite clearly sensed certain emotions. A wrenching nostalgia, a lost joy, an object of obsession, and a sincere hope to reclaim it. Could these thoughts belong to the beast from the abyss? But if that were true, then perhaps it is no beast after all. Oh, please forgive my ramblings. It's just that I wish to know the truth, and no one, not even loving Elizabeth, will tell me.
so Candidate says that that's a reference to Filianor. That I hadn't considered. So Manus is going after Dusk, and we're told she senses wrenching nostalgia and a lost joy, so presumably he's mistaken her for someone else.
If thou art in need, pray summon me again. I wish to be of assistance. May the flames guide thee.
The object of obsession. So Candidate is suggesting then that that could be, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're suggesting that the object of obsession, likewise, could also be Filianor. At least on the surface, she appears to be referring to his insistence on getting the broken pendant back. Half of a broken stone pendant, the vine appears to originate from Oolacile. A powerful magic can be sensed from this ancient stone, yet men of this time can neither manipulate nor sense its power, which has a distinct air consisting of both reverence and nostalgia. And in the Ring City we're introduced to Filianor, who was given to the Pygmies along with a lordship. That's called marrying your daughter away. That is very, very interesting, Candidate. If ever there was a connection to Dark Souls 1, like between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 that seems convincing, that's definitely one of them. Is it that he sensed Oolacilian plants on Dusk and just reached out and grabbed it? I don't know that she would have any plants on her though. Like, she looks very prim and proper. And the guy guarding Filianor has Manus's pendant and is called Half-Light. As in half-lighted. Oh. That is very interesting. Shows how little I know about the Ring City, because I've only played it like twice, but I've never even considered what the name Half-Light might mean. But Theomany suggests that Half-Light is Medir. She wants to know the truth, and not even Elizabeth will tell her. So that also suggests to me that she's no longer convinced that it was Artorias who was responsible for saving her, and that she suspects that it might also be us. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Medir and Half-Light are the same person, given that things important to Half-Light are in Medir's soul. Medir is Ring City, Artorias confirmed. I know JSF loves the Ring City. So yeah, so I'm not really sure. But Vodka Foley said, see, this is preparation for Let's Talk Lore of the Ring City. It absolutely is. No, gosh darn it. I knew I should have warped away when we had the chance. This is absolutely preparation for not specifically the episodes of Let's Talk Lore dealing with the Ring City, but we're told Medir is a guy who went from Oolacile to the Ring City, though. Half-Light. Half-Light went to the Ring City on a diplomatic mission, decided to stay, was turned into a dragon with his spirit tapped, given to the Adjudicators to double protect Filianor. Hello. Oh. Why is that thing just standing there? So, we not only have one Sanctuary Guardian, we now have two. And I'm not really sure what to make of that. I want to see if we can trick them into coming towards the door in order so that they might be cheesed. Oh, you think that's why, Theomany? But they don't really give you a chance to get the tail cut on any of the other bosses. I don't know if they're susceptible to poison. But it's worth a shot, I think. No, too smart for that. Uh-oh. That's bad. Oh, where are we? Okay. I'm not even sure that poison works on them. Hello, Marnie Marn? Hey, we have this annoying boss fight, but it has a cool tail cut. Players only have one chance to get it per playthrough. What do? Two of them. Aegon is lucky that there isn't a Twitch feature where we can spawn more enemies for him. Oh gosh. Hello, Azurend. That wouldn't be especially fun, I don't think. No, come back! Oh, you silly guardians, whatever you are. These things are said to be closer to demons. Oh! Okay. That works. No, come on! This is not going very well. So maybe Theomany's right. No! Gosh darn it. They're just spamming that. Quit it! Stop! Stop! Just for 1 second, let me... Oh my gosh. You really do need a fog gate for this. Just came from a stream where that exact thing was happening. A bit too chaotic for me with 3,000 plus viewers. Well, I can only imagine. Okay. No. Should have used Estus. They definitely were Marnie Marn, but thankfully, I don't think they respawn, so... What? No. 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 No! Gosh darn it. What is the point of them respawning? Oh, unless you just... I want to give players an infinite supply of Guardian Tails. Sliced tail of the Sanctuary Guardian. This flexible, spiked, and highly poisonous tail would make a rather obnoxious weapon. I think that lightning spam is pretty much their anti-cheese mechanism. It's Chaos Storm time. Do need to get our souls first, though, so hopefully we can manage that. No. I don't know if we're going to be able to cast Chaos Storm. I'm amazed that didn't... Oh, it did, but... I don't know if Chaos Storm is as good of an idea as I thought it was. Well, let's try again anyway. No. Oh, we almost had it. Gosh darn it. I don't think we have the Lightning Stone Plate Ring. No. Yeah, I think the remaster is great. Like, certainly they could have done more. But at the bare minimum, in my view, it needed to be 60 FPS Dark Souls, which it is, with some quality of life improvements. Whether or not they chose the right quality of life improvements to implement is certainly another question. Because there were some things that I think they should have implemented, but they didn't. Wow, we are getting wrecked. But, you know, those are very subjective questions as to whether or not they should have done X, Y, or Z. Yeah, that is definitely an anti-cheese mechanism that they have in place. Where if you run back in here, they're just going to spam. They're just going to spam their lightning attack. Alright, I have no interest in doing this anymore. Screw you guys. Yeah, if they had a ring like in Dark Souls 2, which boosts your casting speed, we might have a chance here. But as it stands, we can barely even get close. Stay right there, please. Yes. So now we just have to do the boss fight over again. Bad heal. Yes! And to think I was just about to give up. So yeah, I guess that's pointless. Unless you really want that tail cut. I'm very curious now. Is it a situation where you have to kill them both in order to ensure that they don't respawn? Or do they just respawn infinitely? They respawn infinitely. Let's think about this for a second from a lore perspective. Guardian Soul, soul of the white-winged Lion Sanctuary Watchkeeper, who dreaded the spread of the abyss. The Guardian exhibited traits of several animals other than lions, suggesting that it was no ordinary beast, but rather closer to the beings known as demons. So I want to verify what the conditions are for these things to be summoned. On the wiki.Dark Souls wiki, it says, smaller, less powerful version of the Sanctuary Guardian. 2 of them are found in the area where you fight the Sanctuary Guardian boss after you defeat Knight Artorias. They respawn and provide another opportunity to obtain the Guardian Tail. But so they spawn after you kill Knight Artorias, which suggests to me, given the context of the item description, which says that they dreaded the spread of the abyss, that these things, because again, based on the assumption that if things respawn infinitely, that means that there are many, many, many of them. That there are tons of them. So much that every time you kill them, they respawn. Because there's just more of them. So in other words, these things, for those who are familiar with Final Fantasy VII, in Final Fantasy VII, when Sephiroth gets a hold of the black materia via his mind control over Cloud, the planet summons the... what are they called? The weapons from the life stream. So these things are basically the weapons, which are giant monsters which are summoned from inside of the planet, from Final Fantasy VII. I don't know why Artorias is the trigger, though. But yeah, that's interesting. Because, they dread the spread of the abyss. But if they dread the spread of the... why are they here? How is being here helping anyone or anything? In terms of, preventing the spread of the abyss. I'm not really sure. Soul of the white-winged Lion Sanctuary Watchkeeper, who dreaded the spread of the abyss. The Guardian exhibited traits of several animals other than lions, suggesting that it was no ordinary beast, but rather closer to the beings known as demons. So we won't see the full moveset, but yeah. It's basically just a whip. So yeah, you could look at those things as sort of an analog to the weapons from Final Fantasy, in that they're, rather than coming up out of the life stream to protect the planet, they are summoned from the garden to somehow prevent the spread of the abyss. So I don't know. We are going to call the episode there. So thank you all very, very much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.